Imagine this. You're a soldier in 2003. The Army just showed you a video. Sleek. Networked vehicles that can see the enemy before they see you. Lighter armor. Faster deployment. An entire battlefield connected like a nervous system. They called it Future Combat Systems, and they promised it would make you invincible. 6 years later, that future arrives, and it's nothing. Literally nothing. $20 billion spent. 0 vehicles delivered. The entire program. Scrapped. Not downsized. Not restructured. Completely. Cancelled. Now imagine you're a taxpayer. That $20 billion, that came from you. Enough money to fund NASA for an entire year. Enough to hire 200,000 teachers. Burned on a weapons system that never fired a single shot. And the people who approved it still have their jobs. Welcome to Future Combat Systems, the most expensive cancelled weapons program in American history. And over the next 20 minutes, we're going to dissect the 7 wounds that killed it. Or, more accurately, the 7 ways it was designed to bleed money from the start. This isn't conspiracy. This is math. This is GAO reports. This is the official record of how your government spent $20 billion and walked away with nothing but PowerPoint presentations. Because here's the truth nobody wants to admit: FCS didn't fail. It worked exactly as designed. Let me show you how. To understand how $20 billion disappeared, you first have to understand what they promised it would buy. The year is 2003. The Iraq invasion has just begun. The Army looks at its equipment, heavy tanks designed for Cold War battlefields, and realizes they're too slow, too heavy, too disconnected for modern warfare. So they announce the most ambitious modernization program in military history, Future Combat Systems. The numbers were staggering. 18 interconnected systems, unmanned vehicles, networked sensors, lighter, faster combat platforms that could be airlifted anywhere in the world within 96 hours. The original estimate, $92 billion over 20 years. First, units operational by 2008. The pitch was simple: transform the Army from a Cold War relic into a 21st century fighting force. Meet Lieutenant Sarah Chen. In 2003, she's fresh out of West Point, watching the FCS promotional video in a briefing room. The narrator promises vehicles so light they can be airlifted on a C-130. Sensors so advanced they can detect enemies through buildings. A network so seamless that every soldier becomes a node in an unbeatable system. Sarah watches the concept art. Sleek vehicles. Holographic displays. Soldiers moving with perfect information. She signs up for a 20-year career believing she'll command these vehicles. She retires in 2023. She never saw a single one. The promise was revolutionary. But the method they chose to deliver it, that's where our story takes its first wound. Which brings us to wound number 2, a methodology called spiral development. It sounds smart. It was designed to fail. Here's what spiral development was supposed to mean: build a little, test a little, learn, adjust. Start with basic capabilities and refine them over time. Agile, flexible, modern. Here's what it actually meant: start building before you know what you're building. FCS launched with 14 critical technologies, and not a single one was ready for production. The Army knew this. The GAO documented it. But the program started anyway. Why? Because spiral development meant you didn't need finished technology to get funded. You just needed a concept and a timeline you could adjust later. The numbers tell the story. Over the life of the program, requirements changed more than 150 times. 150 times. The target kept moving because there was no target. Just a spiral that kept spinning. Let that sink in. Here's how the spiral actually worked. Start with vague goals. Promise technology that doesn't exist yet. When you miss a deadline, say the requirements evolved. When you go over budget, say you're adapting to new threats. When nothing gets delivered, say you're still in the spiral. Evolutionary acquisition. No accountability. Adapt to emerging threats, move the goalposts. Technology maturation. Endless delays. Integrated systems. Too complex to ever finish. Spiral development wasn't a methodology. It was a license to print money. But here's the thing about spirals. They don't go anywhere. They just keep spinning. And while the Pentagon was spinning, someone was watching and warning. Wound number 3. The warnings that nobody wanted to hear. The Government Accountability Office, the GAO, is Congress's watchdog. Their job is to audit federal programs and tell taxpayers where their money is going. Starting in 2005, the GAO started raising red flags about FCS. Not hints. Not suggestions. Explicit warnings. 2005 GAO warns of significant risk due to immature technologies. 2006 GAO Report 06-367 details that critical technologies aren't ready. They recommend restructuring. 2007 GAO says the program is not executable as planned. The cost estimates are unreliable. The schedule is unrealistic. 2008 GAO recommends major restructuring or cancellation. The Army's response: each time, we disagree with GAO's assessment. We're on track. Imagine you're a GAO analyst in 2006. You've just spent 6 months examining FCS. You've reviewed thousands of documents. You've interviewed hundreds of officials. You've crunched the numbers. You've found that 90% of the critical technologies aren't mature enough for production. You've calculated that costs will exceed projections by 50% or more. You've identified fundamental problems with the program's structure. You write a report. You testify before Congress. You lay out the evidence. The Army's response: we disagree. The program continues. 2 years later, it's worse than you predicted. 3 years later, it's cancelled. And the generals who ignored your warnings, they retire with full pensions. Some join defense contractor boards. The warnings were there. In writing. On the record. Multiple years. Multiple reports. All ignored. So if everyone knew it was failing, why did it keep getting funded? Follow the money. Wound number 4. $20 billion doesn't just disappear. It goes somewhere. Let's find out where. The prime contractors for FCS were Boeing and SAIC, operating as a joint venture called Boeing-SAIC. Below them, more than 550 subcontractors spread across dozens of states. 550 subcontractors. Think about that number. Each subcontractor has employees. Each employee lives in a congressional district. Each congressional district has a representative who doesn't want to vote against local jobs. This is the defense contracting playbook. Make the program so big, so distributed, so politically connected that killing it becomes almost impossible. But let's look at where the money actually went. An estimated 60% of the FCS budget went to contractor overhead, management, and systems engineering, not to building actual equipment. 60%. $3.3 billion on software that was never used. $1.5 billion on vehicle designs that were never built. Think of FCS as a restaurant where you pay $20 billion for a meal that never arrives. The chef gets paid. The waiters get paid. The managers get paid. The building gets built. Everyone profits except you, the customer, who's still hungry. Here's the business model. Promise: revolutionary technology. Hire hundreds of subcontractors. Create dependency. Make the program too big to fail. When it does fail, you've already been paid. The contracts were cost plus, meaning the more you spent, the more you made. There was no penalty for failure. There was no incentive to deliver on time or under budget. The incentives pointed in exactly one direction: spend more. Boeing didn't lose $20 billion on FCS. Boeing billed $20 billion for FCS. There's a difference. So the money flowed. The warnings were ignored. The spiral kept spinning. Until 2009, when someone finally pulled the plug. Wound number 5. The death of a program that was never really alive. April 6, 2009. Secretary of Defense Robert Gates stands at a podium in the Pentagon. We will cancel the Army's Future Combat Systems Manned Ground Vehicle program, he announces. Not restructure. Not delay. Cancel. The numbers at cancellation: total spent $20 billion. Vehicles delivered 0. Networks operational 0. Combat systems fielded 0. 6 years, $20 billion. The most ambitious Army modernization program in history. Done. But here's what Gates said next. And this is the part nobody remembers. We will retain and accelerate the initial increment of the program's spin-out technologies and the development of the network. Translation: we'll take whatever scraps can be salvaged and pretend they were the plan all along. Some technologies from FCS did survive. Rolled into other programs. Absorbed into new initiatives. The Army eventually launched new modernization efforts. With the same contractors, using similar approaches. The cancellation wasn't really an ending. It was a reset button. The contractors kept their money. The program managers kept their careers. The lessons were learned, which in Pentagon speak means written down and promptly forgotten. The only losers were the soldiers who never got their future combat systems, and the taxpayers who paid $20 billion for nothing. And that brings us to the wound that won't heal: what happened next. Or rather, what didn't happen. Wound number 6. In any other industry, this would end careers. In defense contracting, it's a promotion. Let's count the consequences for the $20 billion failure. Executives prosecuted 0. Generals demoted 0. Contractors banned from future work 0. Boeing, still one of the largest defense contractors in the world. They won new contracts within months of FCS's cancellation. SAIC, same story. New programs. New budgets. Business as usual. The Army launched new modernization programs. Same methodology. Same promises. Same contractors bidding for the work. Remember Sarah Chen, in 2009? She's a captain. Watching the cancellation announcement on TV. She spent 6 years training for equipment that will never exist. Her career was built around vehicles she'll never command. By 2023, she retires as a lieutenant colonel. In 20 years of service, she commanded exactly 0 future combat systems. Meanwhile, the generals who championed FCS retired with honors. Many joined defense contractor boards or consulting firms. The revolving door between the Pentagon and the industry it's supposed to oversee. The Boeing executives who managed the program, stock options, vested. Golden, parachutes intact. The SAIC team, already working on the next big thing. $20 billion. 0 vehicles. 0 consequences. This is how the system works. This is why it keeps happening. Because FCS isn't an exception. It's the template. Wound number 7. This keeps happening. And it's not a bug. It's a feature. FCS isn't unique. It's part of a pattern. The F-35 Joint Strike Fighter original estimate $233 billion. Current projection over $2 trillion lifetime cost. Still has software problems decades into development. The Littoral Combat Ship $22 billion for ships that can't survive combat. Cracks in the hull. Propulsion failures. The Navy has already started retiring them early. The Zumwalt destroyer, planned for 32 ships. Only 3 were built. $22 billion for vessels so expensive their ammunition costs $800,000 per round. Ford-class aircraft carriers, 300% over budget. Years behind schedule. Do you see the pattern? Promise revolutionary technology. Use vague requirements and agile methodology. Hire so many subcontractors that cancellation becomes politically impossible. When warnings come, dismiss them as pessimism. When it fails, spin off whatever you can into new programs. Repeat. FCS taught the defense industry something valuable. Failure is profitable. Here's the formula. Step 1. Promise technology that doesn't exist yet. Step 2. Use vague requirements so you can never technically fail. Step 3. Distribute contracts across enough congressional districts that no one wants to cut funding. Step 4. When warnings come, disagree with the assessment. Step 5. When it finally collapses, call it a learning experience. Step 6. Repeat with a new program name. This isn't incompetence. This is a business model. And you're paying for it. How many more $20 billion failures before someone changes the system? How many more FCS programs are running right now? How many warnings are being ignored as we speak? This isn't panic. This is pattern recognition. FCS isn't ancient history. It's a warning about how your tax dollars disappear. Not through theft. Not through simple incompetence. Through a system designed to convert public money into private profit without delivering results. The formula is brutally simple. Vague goals, plus unlimited budgets, plus no accountability, equals guaranteed failure. And failure, for the contractors, isn't failure at all. It's just another billing cycle. Sarah Chan watches the news today. New Army modernization program announced. Same contractors, same methodology, same promises. She knows how this ends. Now you do too. The next time you hear about a revolutionary defense program with agile development and evolving requirements, remember FCS. Remember the $20 billion. Remember the 0 vehicles delivered. Remember that someone, somewhere, is getting paid whether it works or not. Is it too late to fix this? Maybe. The incentives are powerful. The lobbying is relentless. The revolving door keeps spinning. But step 1 is seeing the pattern. Step 2 is refusing to accept it as normal. Because $20 billion isn't a rounding error. It's a choice. And choices can be changed. If this video helped you see defense spending differently, hit that like button. It helps the algorithm show this to more people who need to see it. Subscribe if you want to understand how money really moves through the system. And check out our video on the F-35. $2 trillion and counting. Same pattern. Bigger numbers. I'm Creator Name. Stay sharp. And whatever you do, don't let them tell you it's too complicated to understand. It's not. It's $20 billion in. 0 vehicles out. That's the math. Keep your receipts. I'll see you in the next one.